Yeah. Yeah, we got Gedden on. We're about to do a Q&A, so... Stream.
I won't interrupt you this time. I got told off last time.
Well, yeah, Gedden couldn't get
people
a word in edgeways, you know.
I don't think anyone could, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, can one of you two get up the Twitch chat?
Twitch chat sucks.
Oh, yo, J-Dog. Can you get the Twitch chat up so you can get questions?
Yeah. Why, what? Twitch chat for what?
Did you,
we're doing a Q&A with Gedden, so we need someone to...
Did you catch those games between the Ravager and Tiny, Taylor?
No. Been out all night.
You can watch them on YouTube when they go on there.
Pretty.
I think Gedden's now going to nerf the Auger and the Nora Drain after that.
Well, I'm looking at...
Do not! No, well, don't shoebox the Auger. I don't mind what you do to it, just don't shoebox it.
No, it's not going in the shoebox, but... for the record, it wasn't because of that game. He's already been beaten with a nerf bat, so...
Yeah. So have you decided what you're doing to him, or...?
Yes and no. So
can you confirm that he's not going to lose Slam?
He's not going to lose Slam.
Oh, that's fine. Don't give a shit.
All right.
I really need... Sorry, go on.
He is losing bounce.
Yeah, that's fine. I was being a bit biased. I was trying to defend him yesterday. Yeah, he could lose bounce and reflexes, I suppose.
You're right, Taylor. I put my plugged in thingy to keep the screen. What the fuck?
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Gedden, do you know with the losing the bounce and reflexes? If you lose them, will he get an aura decrease or will he get an increase?
Oh yeah. So basically, everyone is well, yes and no, right? So according to the new system, everyone their Nora cost is based on what's on them. I know, crazy monkey talk.
I've seen it.
Himself will be like I forget what his base Nora was with the updated calculations, but it was over 100. So he's not going to be over 100.
Is he going to be?
There are some champions who are going to keep a bunch of abilities on them, and they will be over 100. So you can get these really fun, spiky champions. But Augur is not going to be one of them. He's going to
will it be more or less the same Nora cost as he is now?
Yeah, he's going to be below the 75 mark. Which
that's fine. That's going to balance him then, losing bounce and reflexes.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
Did you? Yeah, his bounce is ridiculous.
Knowledge, but I'm aware of the pre-75 first turn sweet spot and the pre-100 first turn sweet spot. So
yeah.
What was that about Nora Drain? Just make it the same as Limit.
Well, I think Nora Drain. Well, perhaps you could make it so that they don't. Oh, well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe target.
Either increase the Nora cost of it, so you can't deploy first turn and Nora Drain, or just use it like they did to Limit, so you can't. You have to cast it on a champ to actually use it, so you can't use it first turn.
Oh, that's actually not bad.
That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
You'd have to, I'd say, reduce the Nora of it though, because.
Take 10 Nora off it or something.
No.
So that is obviously a big impact, but it is ridiculous getting it first turn. I abused that for ages.
I think. Right. Have we got any questions then, Justin? We must have some by now, surely.
Nope.
What? I do not believe you.
Okay.
Let's have a look at this Twitch chat. Oh. There's hundreds of questions here. Look. Are spells, relics, etc. going to be looked at in the revamp? That's from Moving Target.
That's a good question. So, revamp at large, yes. The first iteration that we come out, the only ones that we're going to address are things that would break if we don't. Well, hopefully that answers the question. But one great example of something that is going to get changed is Black Label Brew. I think I posted that. That might have been one of the previews I posted last week. But basically, Black Label Brew is going to be... That's what Carouse used to give out.
Yes.
Now Carouse is going to be giving out basically just a... I think the name we have for it right now is like Pale Beer or Pale Ale or something.
Pale Ale, yeah.
Right, so... And all it's going to do is get you drunk. So, it's not a good beer, it just gets you drunk.
No, it is a good beer. It is a good beer.
So, good enough, right?
It's good enough for dwarves, I think, yeah.
Right, so the whole thing with Black Label Brew is if you equip a Black Label Brew on a unit that has Carouse, they're going to hand out Black Label Brew instead. So there's a reason to actually have Black Label Brew, even if you're not running a Carouse battle group. You know, and if you are running one, there's a reason to do it too, because you can kind of augment your deal. So that's kind of one example. Another example, something we haven't posted about yet, it's still a little up in the air, is the Dragstar racials might get touched a little bit.
Yeah.
In that they've almost been nuked and then redesigned and nuked and redesigned, and you know, we're basically back to square one as far as like finagling with them. But if that gets changed, Taint, the spell, will get changed, right? Because it directly correlates to that the Dragstar theme and the
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because there are a lot of rooms on Pox. Yeah.
Right. So we will get to them. You know, I think the biggest change that I've seen from my time to the spells now is probably cost. You know, some of the spells did change how they worked, and obviously there's been new spells added, but that's going to need... The updating of spells requires a whole set of attention by itself. So that's going to happen over time.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I kind of think that champs are more of a priority anyway, aren't they? So.
Right. So hopefully that wasn't the longest possible answer to your question. So.
Justin?
Yeah, champs are what makes the game. Relic spells and what you just use with it.
Well, I think the spells and that are
it's a lot more easy to balance that sort of stuff though, isn't it, than the champions?
You know, yeah, right, because it's so
it's straightforward, isn't it? The spell is one ability and not a champ that's got loads.
That's exactly correct on every level. So you do one or two things and that's basically it.
Although there is a couple of relics and stuff that need changing.
There's a lot of things that need changing and attention. So, you know, we were just talking before we started here about, you know, how Marsh Song. It used to be basically the ×2 auto include faction defined, and now it doesn't get run. So
it's just too slow for the gameplay because the gameplay's so fast now. It's just too slow for it.
Right. So, and here's actually then to not put too fine a point on it. So one of the issues right now, like I was talking with Corpse and Sock and just kind of getting, because stuff has changed even since they were, you know, looking at the game, and Corpse said something that was kind of interesting to me, which was, you know, the damage after Moljara basically went up across
a lot.
So. A lot of the other champions started to needed to get block and dodge and evade and
every champ's a super champ
and calcify just to stay alive.
Yeah.
So what happened is the burst damage got way higher. So some more patient spells like Marsh Song doesn't make sense. You know. I don't think the game will be slower, and I want to be clear on that. But there's gonna be...
Oh, it's like killing me. Fuck. Oh my Christ. Oh. Oh my fucking Christ.
So I'm assuming you've got the stutter lag right now.
Oh. Oh, I
I
can't.
don't know if he's responding to what I'm saying or if he's just enjoying himself.
Oh,
No, it's the lag in the game.
fuck me, dude.
Yeah, the stutter lag.
That's the worst I've ever seen it. Holy fuck.
It's
You
for
just
me
you
at the
just
moment.
disconnected.
I'm reconnecting. I cannot do anything.
I think the stutter lag at the moment is worse than it's ever been. Like I can barely watch a game these days without having to restart the client.
Huh. Yeah,
Sorry,
I got reports on that too, and that's
Well, the thing is, I don't get lag at all. Like I'm totally fine now, which is really weird. I never have to relog now. I used to have to do it all the time, but
Alright, let Gedden finish his sentence, Taylor, yeah?
it wasn't me that cut him off. It were Alex.
it doesn't matter. I totally forgot what I was talking about.
You got
Nah,
some
stop.
reports about the stutter lag.
Oh yeah. I got some reports on it, but it's basically every morning at 6 a.m. You know, I get up and I was like, okay, what's the first thing that I look at? I check the queue for showstopper problems, and if there's none, I do design work until 10 p.m. and then rinse and repeat. So right now it's totally champions. Last week we actually took a step back and just spent one day doing some bug fixes so it doesn't look like we're in the Bahamas. Just not doing anything.
Yeah.
But it's a ton of focus. So I know that there are other issues, and that one's a total big one that's on my list. But every day something comes up that we have to address and play triage with. So
This sounds kind of crazy, but the game is once the bug fixes and whatever happen with this next update. I reckon the game will be so balanced.
Alright, let's get a couple more questions in, yeah? We got some stacking up here. Justin?
Omelette de Fro asks, are abilities beyond racials being changed?
Yes. Cost. So a couple of things. Cost is now a bit more important. Cost of abilities is now more important than it's ever been. So basically, under the hood, every ability has a cost associated with it, and that's kind of part of the magic juice that lets you know what an ability is done and used for. So that might not be exactly what you mean, but the costs for most abilities are being tweaked, which does affect kind of how they play on what champions. There are a few that I played with where it comes in front of me and I'm like, I don't like that, or it might be broken, and I have to go in there and fix it. So, like I mentioned before, Defile Corpse is something that got looked at. There was an ability. Another one that I changed was Dwarf Bound. Dwarf Bound. No. It was I can't remember the name of the champion. It's a trebuchet that you need a dwarf next to it. Dwarf driven.
Yeah.
So, and this doesn't sound like a big difference, but the ability itself says, while this champion is adjacent to a friendly dwarf, it loses lumbering. And it has to do with like loss of lumbering. Internally, it's very, very weird. That ability is changed to this champion has lumbering unless adjacent to a friendly dwarf.
Okay.
I know that sounds effectively the same, but there are some edge case interactions that now work a lot better than they did. So there are abilities that are getting changed. The main ones that are getting attention are the theme abilities and or the racial abilities. So cool. Again, really long answer to a short question.
Okay, I've got a question from Pox Revenge.
Cool.
Are you going to treat... let me reword this slightly. Are you going to be doing... right, basically, we was discussing the WAG earlier. Are you going to be treating champs like General Corsian, Korag, and the Displaced in the same way as the WAG?
So the way to say it is every champion is now going to follow all the same rules. I'm a really, really big believer in that. The first few generations of Pox, things were costed according to a set of rules in the game about the cost of units, stats. It would take some of the meta stuff into play, but everyone kind of went by the same rules. So what I'm literally doing now when I update a champion is I load the champion into our internal admin. I see the old costs, I see the new costs, and I adjust some of the units. I adjust the units to where it's an actual playable rune. So the Displaced is going to follow the same rules as the WAG, which is going to follow the same rule as what's the other guy? The
General Corsian.
No, I haven't looked at the general yet, but there's
quite a few sort of champs.
Do you know by the same rule? Do you mean the same Nora cost for that ability?
Yes, so the same Nora cost for the ability, and it's also there's an algorithm that says 1 defense is worth this much, 2 defense is worth this much, 3 defense is worth this much. The same thing for damage and health and range is a big deal. So you have because it's not just a champion that has a lot of range. A champion that has a 3 to 4 range isn't as good as a champion that has 2 to 4 range.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, because they'll be totally different champions for the same Nora cost of that ability, so you'd have to balance it out.
Right. So there's a lot of compensation that goes on. What's Whispergas was the guy I was going to mention a second ago. So I know this champion wasn't asked about specifically, but the Whispergas has 4 upgrade abilities right now. Phase Shift, Cast a Spoil, Drain, and Voices in their Head.
Yep.
The Nora cost for Voices in their Head is about 20 Nora. It is a really, really powerful ability.
That's right.
The Nora cost for Drain is 2, right? It's not a big ability. Or, excuse me, it's not that it's not a big ability, it's that it has a double-edged sword built into it, right? You're pulling off one of your own guys to heal one of your own guys. In the current system, it doesn't matter what you pick. You can just say, oh, I want this really awesome, badass ability, and that's it. So, there's kind of 2 places where the costs were not following the rules of the game. So one is, if you were to just enter in the Whispergas stats, it'd come out to I can't remember exactly, like a 85, 95 Nora rune, just because it's got this weird mix of a bunch of different stuff. Yeah. And if you then factor in all the abilities on it, the cost kind of goes through the roof. Also, don't hold me to the numbers I'm throwing out. I'm just like off the top of my head what it is. Yeah. So it was more expensive than 70, right?
I mean, to be honest, it's one of those champs like Voices in their Head is pretty much domination.
Yeah, it's a domination. So a domination's 50 Nora, isn't it? So
cast Despoil is what? Despoil is like 35, I believe.
Right. So why is it on a champion for 0?
Yeah.
Because the costs for all of these units in the game currently don't take into account the upgrade abilities.
Right, okay.
So now that's not going to be the case.
That's good, because people don't
hopefully
have to
I
pay
answered the question I was asked, because I totally forgot what it was.
So what about like the Ferk Mind Shredder? That's got like 1 ability.
So, well, let me look.
Oh, and it's got the health upgrade and that, but it's only got like 1 effective ability. It is 62 Nora, but like would you not need to adjust that to make it the same Nora? Because I'm guessing it'd be
Well,
cheaper than what it is.
so here's the thing: the Mind Shredder is actually a. I'd have to input it into the admin to check it out. But this is actually a very cheap champion and should be, right? So Psychic Ping is a good ability. Let me just load my deal up and see. Because believe it or not, I've got the cost for all. Yeah. So Psychic Ping rank 3 is worth 25 Nora. It's a very, very, very expensive ability. But
that's quite expensive.
Right, but this guy, I would have to go in and do the whole process, which takes like 10 minutes internally, and it just be me pulling numbers to myself. I would be willing to bet this champion would only go down a little bit.
What, in Nora cost?
Possibly. Don't hold me to anything because I have to I have to run it. So
it's like things like that though. That's going to need to be balanced because that champion's fine as it is, but I'm guessing it'd be go down in Nora cost because it's got no abilities.
Right. Well, so they I would have to run it through and actually test it out, which I can, but it'd be very boring for a podcast.
Yeah, I think this is what Gedden's kind of been talking about with the fact that he can kind of apply a bit of discretion here and there with certain runes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like a really cheap rune, isn't it?
Right, and there are a few runes where intuition needs to take over. So usually runes with lumbering, they kind of break the mold. It's why does it have lumbering? Oh, because it's friggin' awesome. I can do all the other things. Those things get manually adjusted. So it's not 1,000% on there, but we're talking 99% of the runes.
Okay, we've got quite a few questions, so let's try and get through them a bit quicker. Justin?
DMR asked what your favourite Moga is.
My favourite Moga?
Yeah.
Buckethead.
It's not the one you wanted to hear.
Well, it's my favorite because we had to get him redrawn so many times. The artist that drew it, basically he quit. He got a new job somewhere else. This is a long time ago. He got a new job somewhere else, and he just started phoning it in as far as what he was doing. And so we're like, we need you to draw this armored Moga, and he just drew a Moga with a pot on its head. And it was like really terrible. And we always used to tease. It's Lane Johnson. We always used to tease him. And you can look at his artwork. He always draws hats on everything. So we're like, even when he draws a Moga, he's got to put a friggin' hat on him. And so we were like, hey Lane, come on buddy, redraw it. And he did. And he did the bucket head. And it was friggin' awesome. And I love that rune. Because it's got that story to it.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah.
It's not my favorite story rune. There's a different one, but that one's good.
Okay, Justin.
Is Ride Down being nerfed?
Is who?
The ability Ride Down on the Fist of Bastion.
Well.
Yeah. So here's the deal, and I'd have to run it again to know for sure. So I'm going to avoid confusing the argument by saying costs. So Fist of Bastion, as it stands, would be an incredibly expensive rune. Right now it's 85, which is like, it's not quite sweet spot first turn playable, but it's about there. So Ride Down is definitely going to be played with, but on top of that, it's kind of the Fist of Bastion's signature ability. The Fist of Bastion is also going to change. The Stone Clan abilities, I'm not ready to say what they are yet because it's still a little bit in flux, but the Barbarian racials are completely reworked from the ground up.
Well, that's probably a good thing, to be honest.
Right, because it turned out, I had to do a lot of digging to even list what they do. Because it's not shown almost anywhere. And there's a lot of like weird hidden abilities and etc. Anyway, that wasn't the question. So, Ride Down will get looked at. Fist of Bastion is going to get majorly overhauled.
Yeah.
Are there any champs that have been particularly difficult to tackle in the rebalance process?
You know, there was one that I had a. Basically, whenever the champion changes very dramatically, I find myself doing like a big redesign. So I mentioned him earlier, Whisperghast. He can just do all kinds of stuff. You know what? So basically, Whisperghast right now in front of me is going to be. He actually got in front of me. He doesn't have voices in the head, and he can't cast spells anymore. He's still got some of the phase shift drain stuff he has in the wormhole, but he's a melee champ. It takes a lot of time to totally redo a champion like that. And I spend the time on that when it does happen. In general, I want to keep the same flavor, but if there's ever a champion that's like, oh, this is a damage dealing chaos tank support unit, it's like, okay, well, let's pick one, and then you were asking if I look at what people actually do and use the champions for. I'll slink around and look at the data and see what champions are most used for and what players like them, so I can try to keep the same flavor that exists now. But I would suspect in the case of the Whispercast, he was kind of a hit and run heavy damaged hit and run support heavy damage dealer, and now he's kind of like right now he's going to be a initiator damage melee champion. So
that's interesting to hear that. Like, I'll be looking forward to seeing exactly. And perhaps you could post that in your next preview, because that would be a big talking point, I would have thought.
Right on. Yeah. No. We want to do a few more this week. We had kind of in our meeting this morning. We said we should probably do more of the preview posting. We all just get so caught up in changing things around and doing the work that we're like, we don't post as much as we would like.
Yeah, I think communication is key, because a lot of people are like, oh, where are the greens at? What's going on? And
right.
I think things like this
here,
help as well.
I'm sorry?
I said I think things like this help as well, because it gives people
absolutely.
to hear. It gives people a chance to really hear what's going through your head, and
If I remember and had the time, I would do it once a week.
Yeah.
So, all right, what's next?
One other thing, Justin. I got one. Are you thinking about adding new forms of payments anytime soon?
Absolutely. There's no question. So let me look at my priority list and tell you, we have it slated to be done at expansion time. So it won't happen with the revamp, and it won't happen with some of the other features that are out. But there's one, and this is totally Cortes's area. This is what he does. So I don't remember the name of the payment processors, but there's one that's very popular in the Middle East and in Europe, and they are just painfully effing slow to respond to anything. But we've been really working with them. There's a few other payment processes that we want to get in. We're talking about possibly doing Amazon payments as well, since that they have a whole lot of there's a whole lot of ways to get Amazon currency, and if we can support the Amazon currency, then it gets very easy to use, as well as all the Steam stuff, which we want to go back to very soon.
That's awesome. Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah, that you've got it all planned out. It's encouraging to hear.
The last thing is, and this is not set in stone, we're still trying to find a provider that doesn't totally suck, but SMS is on the horizon too. Yeah,
I think that would be a really good one. I mean, I actually use my phone for League of Legends, for example.
Right. It's just it's funny because it's not done that often in the U.S. Anymore, but it's totally a valid way in Europe and South America. So
I think it's especially good for younger people, like teenagers, etc.
Right. all those teenagers and their phones. Yeah. Right. Cool.
I mean, I know the returns on SMS. You know, I mean, sometimes the pricing will have to be high because you don't. They take quite a large chunk of the commission, don't they?
Yeah. So with SMS, it's funny because then you have like, you know, AT&T takes a chunk, and then the local provider takes a chunk, and then the, the carrier takes a chunk, and it used to be that the manufacturer would take a chunk, and but that is generally that's why it's hard to find a good provider, because we don't want to make it so if you spend via SMS it costs more. That's silly. And we also don't want to make it to where if you top up $5 on SMS, we don't get 30 cents. It's a bit of a challenge. But as you're aware, back in the day we had it. We did do it, and we internally have all the support for it. We're just looking for some good providers to allow us to pull that off.
Yep, completely.
So.
Justin.
Oh shit, my screen just turned off. Well, while I turn my screen on, I'll just ask this question. Like, what are you planning to do anything about these people who are scamming, like the same people scamming a lot of new people on different accounts?
Right.
Like Sue will.
So I don't, that, I know of what's going on. That has been totally Senshu and Portice's handling things. So I will say, there was someone who paid for him or something of that nature. The very reason why we don't officially support third-party sites and third-party trades is because we have no way to police it. And if we go out and say, hey, we support a third-party site, when something happens, the onus is on us to do things about it. And the truth is, back in the day, we actually did do things about it. We wouldn't talk about it. We would try to intervene, and it bit us in the ass every single time. Someone would say, hey, I got scammed by this guy. He never paid me. And we follow with PayPal and et cetera, and the guy's like, oh no, I totally paid him. It was SMS or cash. It wasn't PayPal, so I never saw a thing for it. And we have no way to verify what anything happens. And we talked about this last time. The worst case scenario for us is when people get pissed off and then do chargebacks on credit cards for things that they buy from us. So we can get in trouble for it. Can hurt us, and we can't police it, and it gets really sticky. So if they do something on the forums where they're like, come here, little boy, I'll give you some candy. We can, if that happens in our area, we can police it. But if it's someone doing something on eBay, we have no way to verify anything. So all I can say is the only way you can be sure not to get scammed is only do even trades.
I think a lot of it is like don't give out your password. That's always a good start. And,
right.
Not giving away runes before receiving payment is always a good one as well.
Right. Exactly.
It's about common sense, really.
Yeah.
Well,
the other thing is, and I know this is kind of almost a cliche to say nowadays, but nobody at Desert Owl will ever ask you for your password. Mm-hmm. You want to know why? We don't need it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. If I wanted to get into your account, I can. I don't want to. I want you to keep playing, which is why it's there. And again, you get to the policing. Just one last point on this. So you start getting to policing about who is on what account trading this. Again, we do not officially support people having multiple accounts.
Yeah.
Now, asterisk here. Do you know anyone who doesn't? So how can we police it? We don't know who has what accounts. So there's that.
I think to make one last point on the whole scamming thing. If someone is found to be scamming, is it possible to try and ban all their accounts or IP ban their address and stuff like that? I know they can still attempt to get around that, but...
Oh, no. So if we decide to ban somebody, the hammer of justice that we have, and it's literally one button, is absolutely swift. So if we decide to ban somebody, we instituted our old admin, where that person gets banned. We look at their IP. This is automatic. Looks at their IP, see what other accounts that they've logged in on, and those get banned.
Yeah, but they could just use a proxy.
I'm sorry?
They could just use a proxy.
Yeah, but the accounts get banned, Taylor.
Right, the accounts. So
yeah, but it's not going to stop them, is it, from creating new ones?
Well, I don't want to give away all the juice, even through proxies. Let me put it this way: most people who scam, they actually have intermediary accounts, where it's an empty account where they just trade runes and they put them in.
Yeah,
we track that too, so
yeah,
we know.
Try and hunt down the main account, and that solves
right.
the problem. Yeah.
But that's only if it's in a scenario where we need to deal with it, you know. Yeah. The truth is, we're not SOE. We don't. If we ban you, it means you did something really bad. You know, I don't think we've actually banned anybody since we took over. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's true.
That's
I'm sure Justin can give you a few names.
I don't know how Hasumu. You might not know this, but he has scammed about 15 people recently. Stores included.
Again, this is like more of a thing to discuss with Senchu, and probably not on the stream, to be honest.
All right. Yeah.
So let's move on to another question.
All right. Cool.
Does free defense on a melee champ cost the same amount as free defense on a ranged champ?
Yeah.
Yes. A ranged champ. However, a ranged champion costs more than a melee champion.
That's the whole thing that you're doing, though, isn't it? Like, for every ability, it's all going to be the same cost for that ability.
Right. So, you know, hopefully that answers it. Defense doesn't cost as much as range either. Put it that way, as well. So,
is range cost calculated by how much range it actually is? Like, so if it's 3 range, would that cost less than the 6 range, or is it just one cost?
Range. What I did is it's an algorithm based on a heuristic that pivots on. That's a bunch of nerd talk for the number of squares you can hit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, a 1 to 5 champion would be more expensive than a
5 to 7.
3 to 5 champion, and there might be a balance in there somewhere for a champion that can hit really far and is like 7 to 8. I don't think we actually have any, but
Timothy's 5 to 7. So
right. So that guy is going to be expensive as hell if he keeps 5 to 7. So, yeah.
So something like the Lich King with 4 to 8.
Yeah, the Mortar Crew.
Lich King got a lot of. It looks like Lich King got a lot of updates.
Yep.
In the last 2 years, I don't like Oblivion Shield. He's a release rune, and Oblivion Shield isn't a release ability.
Yeah.
You know, nor should. Right. Well, nor should a ranged champion that can teleport need crazy defenses.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So
same situation as Augur, isn't it?
Right. Right. Exactly. So cool. I'm trying to answer the questions shorter so we get to more.
Yeah. I got one from Iodumai. Iodumai or something.
Iodumai.
Iodumai. Okay. What sort of buff will the Goblin Sticky Fingers be getting?
Sticky Fingers?
The Goblin Sticky Fingers.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Team Delta.
Yeah. So, I have not reviewed this guy yet. So I can't tell you.
Okay,
what...
well...
If you could be a Moga, which one would you be?
If I could what?
No, I asked, what's your favourite Moga? Now, DMI wants to know what Moga you would be.
I would be Dirge Moga Lord. In that voice. I mean, why wouldn't you? You know.
And I'll drown you.
Whichever one can date the only female Moga in the game, I guess.
Justin?
Anyway, go ahead.
I'm just trying to find a way how to make this, like, understandable. Do ability combos cost more than abilities on their own? So, for example, if Tough 2 was an upgrade on Fist of Bastion, and you pick Tough 2 and Resilient, would there be an additional Nora cost?
So the way it works is it's costed by deltas. So the way I'll describe this is through regeneration, since that happens fairly often throughout the game. Regeneration rank 1, 2, and 3 cost, I believe, 3, 6, and 9 Nora. So there's a 3 Nora difference. If you have regeneration 2, and you in your ability tree, and that's the default ability. If you switch it to regeneration 1, your champion costs 3 less Nora. If you switch it to regeneration 3, your champion will cost 3 more Nora.
It's upgrade paths is what we're doing.
Thing of regeneration, you go to regeneration 2, you're not paying for it twice. So, which is a good question, because what I was saying is these upgrades are no longer ignored, which means that what was just asked needed to be addressed. So it is addressed by understanding what's on them and only adding deltas. And as you're playing with the new runes, you'll actually see, it won't tell you this thing costs 8 Nora, you're getting +3 if you use it. It just says +3 or -2. So you can just see the information you need to see.
So units' abilities are costed individually, but obviously you've got the bit of leeway if you think a rune has too strong a combination.
Right. So, yeah, exactly.
Justin?
Have you seen that, like, post Apostate has, where he's doing that event kind of game mode?
PoxNora
The war game, right?
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I totally haven't read it.
We're wondering if the Greens are planning to do, like, any kind of things like that occasionally.
I don't know what it is. I only saw the post and was
It's a really good idea.
I think
what
just
is it?
basically a community event / tournaments. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, absolutely. So it's literally a question of triage right now as far as what we can do. You know, I know Moles is running these tournaments, and you know, obviously it's no skin off our back to let you guys do awards and things like that. So you know, that's obviously we want to do it. But anything that goes for the community, it's just a matter of you know, us thinking of it and then getting the or y'all thinking of it and telling us, and then, you know, us getting the resources and time. So you know, I'm all for that stuff. If any, from what I understand, the and again, I don't know what's going on with the, what was it called, War Games?
Warfare. PoxNora Warfare.
Warfare, man, yeah. So my brain's all over the place, but I haven't read what he's doing, but
yeah,
you know.
basically the concept behind it is that each faction is allotted 4 zones on the PoxNora map. And pretty much you'll play games against other people from the other faction to try and take their territory. So it's kind of like the PoxNora story, you know, they're kind of all at war with each other, you know, it's pretty good.
That's fun. It's
Yeah,
kind of
it's a good concept.
like a manual update to Drums of War style of thing.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, and you know, if Apostate wants and you know, wants to include some kind of rewards for that, you know, let us know. I'll help however we can. That sounds really fun.
Free rune packs for everyone.
Something, you know, we'll figure it out. So,
I was
if anyone
talking
involved with
about
that is listening, talk to Senshu, and we'll see if we can't hook you guys up with some stuff. Because why not?
Cool, man. I'm gonna win that anyway.
Unless we make the prize really big, then. No.
Yeah, I think Senshu also confirmed that he was looking to run some community events in the near future, but
Right.
I'm not sure if he's got time at the moment. But
Not
he was
priority,
definitely
is it?
looking. That's on his radar anyway.
Yeah, no, it's literally a line on, you know, his list of responsibilities is to help with that stuff and facilitate that stuff. So, you know, moving forward, we can figure out more ways to do it. You know, all better. So, I'm so behind that stuff.
Okay, Justin.
there aren't any.
No more.
No.
Do any of you guys have a question for Gedden? A sensible question.
I'm looking for one rune because they were asking what your favorite. Someone asked me what my favorite Moga was. Did I tell you guys about Late to Battle?
No.
The spell.
Right. So the spell Late to Battle is the only spell that has the face of someone who worked on Pox, and it was a designer who we let go. And can you guess why? He was
late.
always late with everything.
Feel like Dave?
You know, we would literally get to the point where an expansion would be designed. We would write it, and back then it would take a full 3 months, you know, to do that. And a day or two before the expansion comes out, he would come up with a list of suggestions for that expansion.
You should have told him the expansion was a month before it actually was, so he was actually on time.
Well, he would be like 2.5 months late. You know, we would then have a meeting. Like the actual whole thing Late to Battle is we'd have a meeting at like 10, and he would show up at work at 2 o'clock, and everyone was there at 8. Like,
you should have actually sorry, go on.
Right, so he didn't last too long, but that's where Late to Battle came from, and the flavor text is all there. So it's kind of like, where's his runes? Like we're fighting right now. So yeah, there it is.
That's a good one. That.
You should have photoshopped his head onto it.
That's what we did.
Oh, is it actually? Yeah, is it
That's
actually
his
him?
head. That's his face.
I want my own rune now.
By the way, I got another question from Eodamai. Eodamai, is that how you say it?
Cool.
And it's a question you'll like, actually, Gedden.
All right.
He wants to know, what plans do you have for the Titans?
Oh, I think we mentioned this in passing yesterday. So I haven't totally fleshed it out, but there's the man. Hopefully this doesn't bite me in the butt, because again, I haven't fleshed it out. This isn't a final decision, but I'm considering making the Titans just massive characters. So we're talking a Titan might be like 25 damage, 220 health, 6 defense, something just crazy. But he will cost so much Nora that it will be almost impossible to use. So I haven't. I know. You see, this is why it's not fleshed out yet. But
everything you said then were fine apart from the 220 health.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. 320 health. No, but something to set them totally apart. As a and what's funny is, so I'm sure most people who are listening, and you guys obviously are the PvP players, the PvE guys who fight bosses. If you put a boss down that has 300 health, he gets one rounded. You know, so it's not out of the question, but it certainly is something that's going to require, some play testing to get right.
That's
Yeah.
You know, so again, this is not something I'm like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to have 500 health on a dude. But the idea is make them just big and beefy and different than everything else is out there, which is what they're supposed to be.
Yeah, they're a Titan.
Right. I mean, it's a Titan. When they go out on the field, you got to be like, holy crap, that's a Titan, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea. And you know, they're fun runes. They're fun to play with. Less exciting would be making them expensive runes that are very efficient.
Let's be fair, that's what they were like before.
Honestly?
Like, wow, it's a Titan, but then they got nerfed, and it was just too much Nora cost for what they were.
The Titans' cost, I think, is fine. It's just the fact that they've actually got less abilities than most new champs now, so they kind of faded out. Like, they stayed at 120 Nora.
That's I think that's a very astute deal. So that might be what actually winds up happening is they will be beefier champions, beefier than others, but they're going to cost. Once you get above 100 Nora for any champion, that's a champion you usually have to save for. You know, it's not a guy that you're like, well, I got 114 Nora this turn, you know, so no problem. You know, I think that's fun, and you know, I do you know what I mean when I say the term spiky?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so there's you know, the Timmy Johnny spiky runes. A spiky rune is just a crazy beater. I like the idea of having them, but if you have them, I want them to cost enough. So
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So many Super Champ decks going to be playing them.
So yeah,
Well,
I was just going to ask. I've always been a massive fan of Nora Gen, and under SOE, Nora Gen was nerfed methodically,
Right.
pretty much. Like Marsh Songs, Nora Beasts, Deep Miners, every form of Nora Gen got hit.
Are you saying Nora Gem or Nora Gen?
Nora Generation. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So
And the counters got harsher and harsher, as well as the nerfs to the Nora Gen. So you don't see Nora Gen anymore because it's just a lot more efficient to just rush at the opponent's fonts.
I think now that generally speaking, if you want more powerful stuff, you're going to have to pay more for it, but it should be worth it. So that if you're a player who likes just crazy big beaters and you want to have a deck of or a battle group of super champs, you're going to need the Nora to support it.
Yeah.
So hopefully that would bring some of it back. So I will say this: one of the inspirations for Pox for me were two games. There was an old game for the Game Boy called Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
And the other one was a game called Command and Conquer Generals.
Never heard of that one. But, yeah.
I love Command and Conquer.
Right. When that game first came out, my mind exploded on that game. I think it was like the #2 general online for 6 months or something when it came out. Like I played constantly. And one of the things about that game was at the end game mechanics where you could do you could self-generate the resources you need to do things. So that's actually some of the inspiration for the Nora Gen that exists in PoxNora now. I like that idea of having the strategy game where you can capture things, but if you were vigilant, you could build your own economy as well as do strategic play. So, you know, it's why in the release set there were, off the top of my head, there were 2 or 3
Deep Miners.
Yeah, Deep Miners, the actual mine itself, and I want to say Forglar had something, but I can't think of it right now.
Their bonus. Faction bonus.
Right. Well, actually, the bonuses didn't exist when we released.
Oh, really?
Factions didn't really exist. So that was just something that players liked. That we put in there. So yeah, I think Marshsong wasn't. Oh, Marshsong was a third expansion. So it wasn't initially, but it was there shortly after.
When were the Nora Beasts?
Nora Beast, I think, was the Nora Cow, as we call it internally. That was actually the second expansion. That was when that was with the advent of Savage Tundra. So,
yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, now you say that Savage Tundra came after the first set, didn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So I like them. I think it's a fun tactical thing to have on the field, and I definitely want to look at Marshsong. It sucks having auto includes finger quotes, but I kind of see it as a part of Forglar Swamp.
Yeah, well, so. I think the trouble with the Nora Gen is that it was too easy just to drop it and forget about it.
Yeah.
I think forms of Nora Gen like Flame Siphon, where you have to actually use a bit of thought to into building the deck as well as during play.
Right, and actually in some ways Nora Beast too, because there's the whole I can heal him just enough to get another one off, or whatever it is you can do.
They removed healing. Sorry, they gave it healing deficiency.
A good example is
yeah, they gave the Nora Cow healing deficiency, so you couldn't heal it.
It also costs like 60 odd Nora now. Like
what? Huh?
Yeah, the Nora Cow costs 60 Nora, and it has healing deficiency. And like I say, all forms of Nora Gen have been nerfed, and the counters just keep coming as well. So Nora Gen has literally diminished.
It's Nora Gen nowadays is stuff like essence capture on good champions already,
Yeah.
Well, see, and what's funny is for Nora Gen, I like the essence capture. I mean,
Combined Effort's a really good example.
The siphon is fine. Was I need to look at them again, etc., etc.
Yeah,
but
I think it is fine.
essence capture to me is a very UD way to generate Nora.
Yeah.
The Nora Beast is a Savage Tundra way. The Miner and the Mine are, Iron Fist ways to do that. I'm cool with that. I don't remember exactly who has it that I didn't like them on, but
Scorched Dwarfs.
Like, why would Scorched Dwarf?
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of like.
Yeah.
In UD, because they're basically slaves. It's like I love it. It's like I think I don't know if it's still that way, but the flavor text I did for them was something like if the dwarves knew that they had their guys had been captured, they would have gone back for them or something of that nature. I like that. I think that's neat. But so I'm looking at essence capture. It's on the brutality barbarian. Not really sure that's an IS way to do that kind of thing. So, there's that. But now you're making me do math on the Nora Beast.
Nora Beast.
So 6 turns to generate.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's 6 turns to generate 3 Nora, and you have to invest 60.
It's terrible. Yeah.
That's not that fun.
Consider how many Nora counters there are now as well.
Yeah.
Because there's the other piece to it too, which is when you dedicate the slot for a champion, that has value too.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I see why. I mean, I can understand why healing deficiency is on there. Like, I'm sure there's some crazy combos that can deal with it.
Yeah, fair enough. Healing deficiency, but the 60 Nora cost.
Yeah, that doesn't seem worth it. Again, this might change with the fact that the games are going to be not so much always about burst damage. So that might help, but you know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I've got another question from XX Lord Q.
Cool.
He wants to know if Dark Pact in UD will trigger on friendly spells like Sack Rep, etc. And will the WAG be corrected or fixed to cause bloodied on a death effect?
So I'll speak to the WAG first. The WAG is totally overhauled. The WAG won't be anything like it is now. So basically, the WAG is a Gull rune that costs 1 less Nora and has impervious. Forget what the WAG actually does. If the WAG did nothing, he's a Gull rune that gives him that has impervious. After he dies. I'm playing with a few deals with the WAG. There were a few iterations where I just kind of threw out the window and made a new WAG. But the iteration that I'm on now, he does have he can still be a Gull rune, but you have to earn it. So it can be prevented that he will spawn a Gull rune. So is that enough of an answer?
Yeah, that's a good answer because it leaves us wanting more in the next preview.
Right on. Then the other thing is the Dark Pact. This is this is one of my spells. Target champion, next champion is target us. Yeah. What was the question about it?
Will it work on friendly spells? Will it trigger on friendly spells like Sacrifice or Retribution?
It already does.
It should.
I'm not sure, but I think it might be buggy. Dark Pact is a bit buggy.
Let's see.
I'm not 100% sure how it's buggy, but I'm pretty sure it's buggy.
Let me look at the Java code. Alright.
Two different types of Dark Pact. Demonologist one works on friendly champs, and the spell works on only enemy spells.
Yeah, so Dark Pact, the spell, will not work. It explicitly does not work on friendly spells. So, what was the question about Dark Pact, the spell?
Will it work with friendly spells?
See, why can he cast this?
Will it trigger on friendly spells?
It will not trigger on friendly spells.
Okay, well that's a simple answer.
Unless it's the ability one. Because that does trigger friendly spells, unless it's bugged.
See? So this is part of this unification stuff, right? If you're going to have an ability that casts a spell, why is it casting a different spell?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? That's first of all. Second of all, why is there an ability that casts a spell? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There is no check on the ability. Is what it looks like. So it only does it to opposing champions, but it doesn't check to see what the spell is. Which is why you're supposed to have unification. So when one thing works one way, it works that way for everything.
Yeah.
So alright, no, great question. That's gonna be a bug ticket.
Yeah, so I guess with anything like that, you're in general going to try and get them to be doing the same thing as they should be doing elsewhere.
Right. So that way you can, especially if it has the same name.
Yeah.
Right. If this was Pact of Darkness, not the greatest name, but there is a justification for it working differently.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is there a reason the WAG is called the WAG?
No idea.
No, I think someone was, we were looking into that, and a WAG is just a sportsman's wife, and that makes no sense.
Yeah, wife and girlfriend.
It's a demonic sportsman's wife. I mean...
No, you're missing one. It's a demonic mutant sportsman-wise.
Ah. Maybe it was a hint that in the future they're going to add in like some demonic sports teams.
Footballers' wives.
Football with instead of balls you use heads. I mean,
Man, oh man. So yeah, I was meaning to ask some people that because to me it seems like there's a reason for that name.
Yeah, certainly not that I'm aware of. I mean, someone in the UD forums may know more about that.
All right,
but
I'm gonna.
I guess if anyone is listening to this and they know of that, then hit Gedden up with a whisper or something. Or
yeah, because if I don't find out, I'm gonna change the name.
Yeah, I think a lot of runes on Pox have been like more recently been lazily just named something, you know.
Right. So that and another. I know this wasn't a question or anything. And if we have another, we can do another. But I am getting kind of hungry.
Yeah.
But a lot of someone asked really early on, like, what will I be doing anything with abilities? Updating abilities. If an ability doesn't have a effect, it bugs me to no end. And especially in the recent expansions, there are a ton of them. So I hate not knowing what's going on. So those abilities are getting, if nothing else, touched so they can see what visual effect happens when it goes off. So, all right, cool.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention as well is the tutorial. I actually had a go at that tutorial the other day, and it was actually massively improved.
Oh, right on. Thanks.
So yeah, I think that was actually really well. I went away after doing that tutorial and thought, wow, new players that play that tutorial will actually learn something. You know, they'll actually, it tells them pretty much everything they need to know. Like
that's what I like to hear. You know, one thing that we are actually doing with that is we're going to give new players kind of the option to get and this sounds bad, but it's kind of what we call it internally, which is hand holding. We're going to kind of hold their hand a little bit longer. So, if you complete the tutorial, so you're like, oh, hey, cool. Now it's time to do a daily. Hey, now it's time to go into training grounds. Kind of just guide them a little bit longer, since it seems like the actual tutorials were received fairly well. So
I think that's generally a really good idea. Yeah.
Cool.
Anything that helps with retention of new players can only be positive. Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, cool. Right on.
No, it's been good having you then, man.
Yeah.
Well, I might next time we do a Q&A, I might try and post on the forums in advance and try and get some questions from the forums as well.
That's fine. So, willing to try different things in different formats. So, just whatever makes sense and whatever works.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks for today.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, right on. Good questions.
Peace.
So, all right, y'all. I am going to have dinner. So, peace out.
See you later, man.
See you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks.
Okay. So yeah, quite a long Q&A there. Lots of good answers from Gedden again. And for anyone that missed it earlier, the Ravager versus Tiny Dragon in the Elite Pox Tourney semi-finals. The Ravager came out the 3-1 winner in the best of 5 and progresses to the final.